This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
Welcome to DBL, everybody. It's Tuesday, April 14th. I'm Tori. I'm flying solo in the studio, but my fellow co-hosts are safe and staying inside. Two of them are joining me right now. One you haven't seen in a while, Brandon London is back. And of course, Lindsay Granger, who I am so glad to see your face, Brandon. It has been way too long. Tell me what you've been doing with your life. People have been asking, where's Belun?
It's Tori, I think I went through the 4 stages of quarantine. You know, first, you're grateful to have time off. You're like, yeah, I've got time off. I don't have to go to work. I can sleep whenever I want. It's like a kid being home. Second, you go through the motivational stage. I've been motivated working on projects, working on my body, working out, doing all those great things. And then the third stage, the boredom hits. Boredom hits, and you start getting bored. And then the last stage, a grown man making TikTok videos. That was the last stage of the quarantine. Once I started making TikTok videos as a 35-year-old grown man, I'm like, you know what? Now it's time to figure this thing out and be a little bit more productive.
Brandon, that's what Lindsay
I miss you all, though.
I miss you so much, Brandon, but that's what Lindsay and I think, and Lindsay, I want your take on this. We call that rock bottom. Is that what you would call that, Linz?
Yes.
Listen, I hate to admit this. I wanted to say first and foremost, I hate to admit this, but I did miss Brandon. I really feel so terrible saying that out loud. And his TikTok videos were quite entertaining, quite petty. Either way, whatever. Happy to have you back.
Tori, we must be in the middle of a pandemic if Lindsay is saying that she missed me. Something must be going on in the world.
I love you two are like brother and sister. I'm very glad. Well, we have to get to the headlines here, and things have gone a little wonky here. When can we open up the country? The president had a lot to say about this at the coronavirus press conference yesterday. If you didn't catch it, it was a 2-hour-long press conference. He said it was up to him as president to decide when to reopen the country, declaring that he himself, the president, has total authority over that decision. Let's take a look.
When somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be. The authority is total. It's total.
Okay. State leaders like New York Governor Andrew Cuomo are reacting to this big declaration from the president that he has total authority. Here's what Cuomo told Hoda Kotb on the Today Show.
We have a Constitution. The Constitution is based on balance of power. And we don't have a king. We have a president.
Okay, so if the president says, let's open New York, and you say you don't think it's a good idea, what happens then?
Then we would have a problem.
Spoken like a true Italian New Yorker. I do want to ask the question, does the president have total authority? Now, if you know me at all, I read books like this for fun. It's how to read the Constitution and why. And I underline it because I'm a nerd and I live up to that. Am I right? And I want to give you guys just a layman's term of what it means and if this is true. So the first point is this. Not only does the president not have total authority, he doesn't have it even in the federal government, meaning the courts, Congress, the Senate, they have checks and balances with each other. He doesn't have authority over the federal government. Now, when it comes to the states, we have something called the 10th Amendment. I'm not going to bore you with it, but all it says is if it's not written in the Constitution about the president's power, everything else is left to the states. So pardoning he can do, he can appoint judges or they can have some war powers, they can veto bills, they can sign bills, but anything else, if it's not expressly written in the Constitution, that relies on the states. So that begs the question, and I want to go to Lindsay real quick here. Did he either know that and not care, or does he not know the 10th Amendment? And even if press were reacting to it saying, what about the 10th Amendment? Lindsay, what do you have to say?
Well, I just want to point out that either way, it's not up to the states or the president, right? So if this becomes an argument between, let's say, Cuomo and states like New York and the president, then the Supreme Court will have to decide. And we're making even more of a mess out of a time that's chaotic already. So I don't even like the fact that it's so much back and forth. But I do think that it's a time to come together and figure out a real plan. I know that you and I sat on the panel a couple weeks before we were out of the office or out of the studio, and we said that we wish the president had an overall federal plan that could move forward kind of in congregation for the entire country, and that didn't happen. So he left it up to the states, and now the states are deciding how they want to move around. So I think it would be a 180 to now say, I'm going to have total authority and tell everybody what they need to do moving forward, because we didn't close down at the same times.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, and I'll push back a little bit, and I want your opinion here, it's not just a 180. To me, it's a dangerous declaration of I am king, I am monarch, and I clearly don't understand or care to understand about the checks and balances in the Constitution. It's as if he literally said, I'm the king. And that was an historic moment. I want you all to remember this. That is a moment in which we will remember George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and the heroes of the Revolutionary War made sure we didn't have a king for this exact reason. So I don't want it to just fly away, and if it's up to the states and it'll go to the Supreme Court, this is a major big deal that the president declared that. It's false. We have the information for you. It's a DBL exclusive. Any 8th grader could tell you that, so now you know. He does not have total authority over the states. All right, we're going to move on after I gave my little lesson here. Nerd alert. Lindsay, do you have any follow-up on that?
I think that Trump stumbled over his words. We all understand that he is not the most, tailored man when it comes to his speeches. I don't think that he truly was saying I'm going to go against any amendments here. I think that he was just saying I'm going to follow Fauci's direction, like he's been saying. Fauci did say that he's been listening to him, and so I think that if he's going to follow Fauci's direction and Fauci says it's time to slowly start opening businesses and do things like that because the health is up to par, then I think that that's what he would listen to. I don't think that he would ruin his chances of running for president again or winning the election by opening it and seeing cases spike all over again.
Okay, I hear you. I just didn't hear one stumble, and he said it repeatedly with slides, so I definitely disagree on that point. But we always love each other at the end, and you look fabulous in plaid. Everyone wants to know when we can get back to normal. With so much of America shut down, businesses are closed, gatherings of more than a few people prohibited. Local leaders are asking when and how we can reopen. Now governors from coast to coast are banding together to decide. So on the West Coast, you got California, Oregon, Washington. They're going to coordinate their efforts. And 7 states on the East Coast will make a decision together on how to reopen, and based on the data, science, and recommendations from public health officials. Now, according to Governor Cuomo, any plan to reopen would have to include readily available testing and contact tracing for anyone who tests positive. So DBL Nation, we want to hear from you. You're part of our show. You know, you're keeping me having a friend here. So do you trust your local leaders to come up with a plan to reopen your state? We want you to go to dblvote.com to weigh in. Brandon, Virginia is doing very well. That's your home state. I like the governor there, Northam. What are you thinking? Do you trust the local leaders?
Absolutely. You know, just because I'm talking to my family and some of my friends who are back in Virginia currently right now, and I think when it comes to the conversation about when is things going to open up again, I think it's a two-sided conversation on the people who want things opened up because it's like, hey, I have to get back to work. I have to get back to some sort of normal life. But then there's the other side of people who are like, you know what? I don't want to step out of my house until everyone's tested or we have some sort of vaccine or some sort of test for this virus. I mean, you think of the chickenpox. Chickenpox, you get tested or you get some sort of vaccine prior to having it, you know, to be immune to it. So I look at it, you look at Austria right now, the country Austria, they just opened up for like small businesses today, and then on May 1st, they're going to see how the next couple weeks go, and then on May 1st, they're going to open up the malls, they're going to open up the theaters and the hairdressers. So I look at it as, hey, why don't we just stay in place right now for a couple extra weeks, look at other countries and how they allowed certain businesses and functions to open up at a smaller rate, and then take it from there, because America is a bigger country than all these other countries. But at the same time, all these local governors, Tori, I think they're going to err on the side of caution because no one wants that on their resume going forward.
I agree with you.
That they opened up the country prematurely.
I agree with you. I think we all want your hair on our resume as well. The viewers voted 84% do trust their local leaders. That actually makes me extremely happy to see. Brandon, Belon, Lindsay, stay around. We'll check in with you later. Coming up on DBL, our lovely medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is answering your questions about the virus. It's a segment you never want to miss. And imagine being quarantined with 5 children. It's the reality for Tamika Tiny Harris and her husband, rapper T.I., and she's telling Erica Cobb all about it. Welcome back to DBL. We're all about facts, not fear, and emerald green today. We're providing you information to keep you and your loved ones safe. Dr. Payal Kohli joins us. Oh, it's like a burgundy Merlot with a Jackson Pollock sleeve. Thank you for joining us to answer your questions about the coronavirus. Before we get to your questions, though, let's talk about a new survey that says 30% of Americans believe the coronavirus was created in a lab. Now, experts have been saying it likely originated from a bat. What is the harm in believing, Doc, that it came from a lab?
So, Tori, you know, if life was a TV movie, this would be a great story to believe. And I haven't decided yet who would play me if it was a TV movie. But maybe Amal Clooney is who I'm thinking. But you know, life is not a movie. And we have absolutely no scientific evidence at this time that this virus was made in a lab. In fact, what we know from nature, as you pointed out before, is that viruses evolve in animal species and they can sometimes jump from animals to humans. We saw it with SARS and we saw it with MERS, and now we're seeing it with this. So to believe this is actually going to create unnecessary anxiety and just cause fear and panic because it's a conspiracy theory, that's not true. So without evidence, I don't think we should believe things that we just don't know to be true.
It's fair. Amal Clooney said it first. You guys all heard her. Now, our first viewer question is from Pamela. She's recovered from the coronavirus, Mazel Tov. She writes that she feels guilty for getting better and watching the news to see others not make it. She's wondering, Doc, how can she feel better? And this is more of a psychological question.
So, you know, what Pamela is feeling is really common after you recover from a traumatic event that other people are still going through, and that's called survivor's guilt. And we can see it after car accidents and other sort of emergencies. But Pamela can channel that energy into something much more positive. She can give her antibodies to somebody else who's suffering.
Wow. Literally save someone else's life. Your blood, your insides could literally help save someone else. So Pamela, you're in an area of strength and empathy. Go ahead, Doc.
Exactly right. I was going to say, Pamela, contact your local blood bank because you have a medicine inside of you that can help somebody else that's struggling. So your struggle will turn into somebody else's positive silver lining, and we can all win together.
Wow, you spun that like a dreidel. How fabulous, a good turnaround on that one. David writes in, today I read an article that said COVID-19 could have long-lasting injuries to our lungs and our hearts. Do we have any proof of this, Doc?
David, we're starting to get some preliminary evidence that this may be true. Now, we have some small studies out of China, 12 people, so not a lot of people, but 3 out of 12 of those people, about 25% of them, had a reduction in their lung function even 2 months after they recovered.
Wow.
And it was about a 20 to 30% reduction. And we're seeing something similar on CT scans where we see some scarring in the lungs. We can also see this with heart function as well. So because this is a new virus, we don't really have more than 3 or 4 months worth of data because it's only been around since December. But so far we're seeing that some subset of people, and it seems to be the ones that had a more severe form of the illness, may have some long-lasting effects at least until 4 months. Now, whether this is going to last for years and years remains to be seen, but hopefully things will get better as time goes on.
Good to know. Finally, real quick, Madge writes in, my wedding was canceled, but my fiance and I are still going to have a small ceremony. Is it okay for me to have my friend come to my house if he's been quarantined for over 3 weeks? I feel like I know what you're going to say, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, quarantined in the strict sense means 0 human contact, not even going outside for a walk, not even seeing somebody else, you know, on your sidewalk or anything. So unless that's happened, I would not advise it at this time because you're really going to expose yourself and him to a lot of risk.
Totally. Madge, we're with you in spirit, though, girl. Before we go, it's time for Dr. Kohli's silver lining. Amen. I could have come up with something better. Wildlife and national parks are having the time of their lives since there's no human visitors around. So tell us more about that.
So this is awesome because while we're socially distancing the humans, the animals are all having a party. And all the bears and all the other wildlife in the Yosemite National Park has no restrictions now. They don't have boundaries, they don't have to stay off the roads. And so they're actually, more of them are coming out of their habitat, roaming free and getting to have fun for once in their life.
That's so exciting. Hi, bears. We hope you're doing well. Sorry we took over your habitat. Thank you again, Dr. Kohli. Dr. Kohli returns tomorrow. She is a wonderful person. If you have questions, please write us in. She is covering tomorrow basic hygiene and grooming practices to keep you and your family safe, from brushing your teeth to doing your laundry. Again, we have no panic, just well-dressed doctors, prevention, and precautions. Thanks again, Doc. And Amal or Priyanka Chopra, I could see both. We'll be right back. Welcome back to DBL. Stay-at-home orders are forcing millions of Americans to spend a lot of time with their families. And Tamika Tiny Harris is no different, except her household has 5 kids. You know the musician from her hit reality series T.I. and Tiny, which is back with a new season on VH1. Well, earlier, Erica Cobb caught up with Tiny to see how her very full household is holding up. It's in today's Chatting with the Stars.
Tamika Tiny Harris, welcome to Daily Blast Live.
Thank you. How you guys doing?
Oh my gosh, I am so much better now that I'm talking to you. I am in my quarantine box. And before we get to T.I. and Tiny's Friends and Family Hustle on VH1, which is my binge right now, I first want to talk to you about quarantine because you guys are famous for having a house full. So I need to know, what is your quarantine capacity currently and how is the Harris family holding up during quarantine?
Right now is currently about 7 people here, and it's, for me, I'm loving it. Tip say he's enjoying it. It's a time for resting and bonding for us. We're able to sit home and sit still and just be with the kids, cook dinner.
Now, your youngest kids are, 4 and 11, so do they understand what's happening right now?
My baby, she's always talking about, oh, I want to go see my mama when the coronavirus stops. And she'll say, is the coronavirus over? And I'll be like, no, because she's wanting to go see my mother. And I won't let anyone go over there to see my mom because I don't want nobody getting her sick. So I'm not letting her go over there.
Now, I have to talk about, of course, the reason why you're here. T.I. and Tiny, Friends and Family Hustle.
One day, we will all leave our legacies behind.
Tip and I have had our ups and downs, but we're finally in a great place together.
The marathon continues.
It's such a success on VH1. It is my binge because there's so many underlying themes that play out with you, your family, and your friends. And a big part of that is comeback, being down and out, and resiliency. And I think those are messages that people really want to hear right now because the pandemic has brought so many unexpected setbacks for a lot of people. Can you speak to that?
I'm just trying to, be as transparent as I can and help others as much as I can through my struggles, show people that, some things are worth fighting for. There has to be some kind of attraction, because you can love a person and not be into a person. That is something that we hold tight. We've been able to maintain, to sustain, and that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us here.
I have been familiar with your family for quite some time, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and Tip. So I understand that this is the most controversial season yet. We will all be tuning in. I am going to continue to binge from quarantine and beyond. And Tamika Tiny Harris, I thank you so much for spending just a little bit of time with us on Daily Blast Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back.
Promotional
Welcome back to DBL. Are you having a hard time getting a good night's rest during this pandemic? You are so not alone, and we are chatting about it on today's Rise and Thrive, sponsored by So Clean. The two of those people in heaven. I love that graphic. Many of us are stressed right now, okay? Our brains are getting flooded with adrenaline and chemicals, and it can remain present through the night and mess up your sleeping pattern. So here are some ways to help you get a good night's sleep in the midst of a pandemic. It's all about quality over quantity. You can do that by sticking to a daily schedule. Don't stay in your PJs all day. Note to self for Tori. Get up, take a shower, get some sun, wind down for bed an hour before you actually want to go to sleep. The goal is not getting into bed until you are actually at an 8 out of 10 on the tiredness scale. And lastly, make sure you put your devices away an hour before bedtime. For more ways to rest easy, go to SoClean.com or call 1-800-562-3891. Brandon, are you having some trouble going to bed, or are you sleeping a lot? It's like one or the other, I think.
Absolutely not. I'm probably opposite of Lindsay. I go to bed at about 8:30 p.m. and I'm up by 6 a.m.
Whoa.
That's the new sleep schedule, Tori. Yeah.
I like that. Linz, are you the opposite? Are you staying up and partying with Colin?
Yeah, you know, I stay up late, but I also wake up late. But I've been having a ridiculous amount of nightmares over the past couple of weeks, and I don't know what's wrong. But I'm understanding from studies that it probably has to do with all the stuff going on. So
totally. Understand it's not real, and we got your back, my love. I can't wait to see you. See you later, Belun and Lindsay. Reminder, we're on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you same time, same place.